Skinny. I think you joined before. Is that another stint? I don't know. But I hope you are keeping very well and you're happy and healthy. That's all we wish. We're going to be talking about a quote from Mahatma Gandhi today.
Oh,
Uh,
giving the spoilers, Joe. That's what I
oh
like to
no!
see. That's good. It's
Oh, do you
good.
know
We're
what?
live.
I
Keep
forgot. I forgot.
No worries. Keeping Twitter entertained. We are now live on YouTube as well.
Oh,
Thanks everyone for joining as well. Recording Inspiration Nation. Hello, as I like to say. Jose and Lee are here. Ryan unfortunately can't make it this week. We're hoping he might do in a run in, but we'll have to see what happens. But yes,
yeah.
as Joe said there for the I was going to say the Twitterverse, but it's the TikTok verse, isn't it? What are we talking about this week? What is the quote? Who is the
This
man
week,
or
this week,
woman?
this week we're talking about Mahatma Gandhi, and we're talking about be the change you want to see in the world.
I let it out of the bag there. I already knew it was a man, see. So what's the quote again, Joe? Sorry.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Okay.
That is the quote. Now, thank you so much for liking on there. Thin likes for live. Thank you so much. I'll tell you what, amazing. Already getting loads and loads of likes. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So, what this is about for me now, it's really interesting because I actually did research it because you did, yours, and I don't really like research quotes. I like them because it's inspiring. But I found out that he didn't actually say it. Apparently, he didn't actually say it. It was a Facebook quote.
We're off to a bad start here already.
It was a Facebook quote that put in his name that it was just alluded to. That's what he would say. So that's really interesting to me because I absolutely love the quote. I don't care who said it. It's amazing because this is something I always encourage. And I suppose there's a good question about this that, as long as the quote works, right? I think it's what you said just last week about I am the greatest from Muhammad Ali. If it's like an affirmation, if you want to do these things will happen. So for me, I always talk about let's make sure that we don't moan about stuff. We talked about this on the podcast. Remember the time we talked on the podcast, very early days?
How to avoid the moaning club. I'm going to take a guess at episode 14, but let me have a look while you fill us in on your choice.
This is really important because, we talked about moaning clubs, and this is something I'm really passionate about because I used, best in the world, I entered into moaning clubs before I really sort of became aware of personal development. It's very nice to moan, but you get into this role of moaning, but nothing ever happens. So what I say to people, if you encounter negativity, if you encounter challenges, do good. Like be the good. So be the change you want to see. So if you are not liking what you're saying, if you're saying people are being super negative, why don't you just become positive and a starter? Start something, take some action. If there's a problem, what's the solution? Can you come up with a starter for 6? Like, okay, if there's a big problem, you just break the problem down and start something. Start small and start to break the problem down and be the change you want to see. If there's a lot of, negativity, be that person that tries to go against the tide, swim against the whatever swim against the tides. I think I'm trying.
Your analogies are going well here. I like it.
Well, swim against the tide. That's what I love that because it's hard, but at the same time, it's important because if you do want to see change. If you just moan about it, nothing ever happens. It only happens through action. And I think I said last week, deeds, not words. Deeds, not words. Words are powerful, but you have to follow them up with words. Deeds. Sorry, I get it right in a minute. I have to follow it up with deeds. Otherwise, it don't mean anything. It doesn't happen. Nothing happens. We just go in the cycle and nothing ever happens. It feels good, but it doesn't happen. So that's my initial opening thoughts, Lee.
I like it, Joe. Episode 10, by the way, all the way back. I've got to lift my phone up because of my squiffy eyesight. 16th of May, 2019.
Wow, that's a long time ago, isn't it?
It is.
Wow.
But I think you're right, and I do like that you referenced that episode and what we talked about then because it is the crux of that is your mindset, and it's very easy to get pulled in with the negativity, and it creates itself, doesn't it? It becomes self-perpetuating, and you risk end up in an echo chamber where everyone says the same thing, everyone agrees the same thing, and it gets louder and louder and louder. And much like last week, again with the affirmations, it becomes the truth if everyone says it. And that same theory, that same principle can be used for the positive, like you say. So actually, if you want to live in a positive world, that starts with you. You have to be positive. You have to push that positivity. Swimming against the tide is a great analogy for it, actually, because you will get resistance with that. I've found that. Not to say that I'm always the voice of positivity, but I try and be on the optimistic side far more than the pessimistic side. And you can get, sometimes I've found you can get resistance just for the fact you're optimistic, or that you are looking for the solution or the good in something, rather than just buying into, sitting in the negativity, to steal a Joseism there. So I really do, again, say, and I know I keep asking you, but we're both, for everyone out there listening, watching with us live, me and Joe have just rushed off minutes after we both finished work. So I think we're slightly all over the pace. We didn't have our usual preamble beforehand, which is why Joe said 10 analogies in one, and I keep forgetting the phrase. So what is it again? Say it again for me, just the exact words.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
That's it. And I think that's it. So you can drive that positivity, or if something can be done better, or looked at better, or looked at a different way, you've got to put that out there. You can materialize that into the world. You can speak it into existence, just like you can do with negativity as well. So like you said, it's got attributed to Gandhi online, and this is a thing. I've seen this loads of places where there's quotes, and then you're seeing comments that this person never actually said that. But I suppose, does it even matter if it takes on a life of its own, if it sends a positive message, as long as it's getting out there? Does it really matter if Gandhi or whoever else ever said that or didn't say it, as long as it's something you can believe in?
I agree. I don't think it does. It doesn't matter. But obviously, it gives a bit. It encourages people to do it more because of.
It's the credibility it builds to it, yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's valuable, whoever said it. But I researched it, and I researched it very quickly. So it could be that that's just someone's just put a post out online, and it's not right because I don't know. I wasn't with Mahatma Gandhi when he said it. Who was? I don't know who the witness is, but it doesn't really matter. Is what you said is absolutely right. And I use this a lot when I train and I do coaching, because it's so easy, especially in businesses and in anything, like families, wherever, because we can say, well, we want things to be this way, unless you, like you said, Lee, but it doesn't happen without someone actually starting to do it. So the best will in the world, we can have brilliant businesses, brilliant companies, but there's always going to be that negativity. And I always say to people, if you see that, you've got to be the person that steps up and just does the thing what you want to see. If you're saying, oh, we're not very positive here, well, be positive. Oh, we're not really helpful, well, be helpful. So it just perpetuates, and it's the hardest thing in the world to do, because, like Lee said, you're going to get a ton of resistance, especially if negativity is grabbed hold. It's one of the hardest things to swim against negativity, because negativity is really powerful. And I don't know whether I referenced this before, but I read a HBR article that it was feedback, but it's a similar perspective. It takes if you get something like 2 pieces of negative feedback, you need 6 or 7 pieces of positive feedback to negate the 2 pieces of negative. So negativity is stronger. That's why we really have to make a concerted effort to really do the change. And also, I think you also mentioned, Lee, about negativity, that it's our natural, it might have been you or me, I can't remember now, all blurs, but negativity is our natural state. It's like, our brain just goes to negative. If you think of a challenge, it always goes, oh, what's the, it's almost like Chicken Little, isn't it? The sky's falling in. And I still feel that. When there's something that happens that hits me really hard, I think, oh, it's never going to work. That's my initial brain rate, and I have to be aware that that's happening. Go, right, okay, I understand, but what's the reality? How bad is this really? And what can I do? And as we reference all the time, what's in my control that I can actually do? And the most things in your control is you and your behaviour and your attitude to whatever the thing is, and that is being the change. So if you're in a company right now, or in a business, or if you're in a team, or if you're at work and you hate the atmosphere, you have to be that start of the change. It won't happen. Even if you see other companies says, I want us to have a positive culture, sets out a load of values, if you agree, things you've got to agree with, have a purpose behind them. But that's never going to happen without everybody towing the line. But someone's got to toe the line, someone's got to start the ball rolling. All because a CEO or a leader says it's going to happen, it won't happen unless that leader's going to do it for sure. It doesn't happen unless everybody else starts to try to do it. Now, if you don't agree with it, that's different, but why don't you agree with it? What's the reason? How can you change that? What can you start to change? What can you start to influence? What's the reason? What's the fix? let's start making a difference. Let's start making a difference everywhere we are. And by listening to this and taking a small action, just a small step, even if it's, just speaking to a colleague, hey, look, how you going? I know I heard you in that, and you made me feel a little bit negative. But what's going on there? Finding out what's going on, what's driving these things, and let's see if we can really help people make those shifts so we can all live in a better world. I do understand we're never going to live in a utopia. I understand that. I get it. But let's start making these changes and do them ourselves. I think, this is one of the biggest things one of the biggest changes you ever do is by you stepping into the breach, you being the warrior, stepping into the gladiatorial arena of going first. Go first to see what happens. It's brave, it's difficult, but it's really rewarding if you can stick at it. It's not easy though. But there you go. Lee, any thoughts on any of that?
And you when you started talking there, I did think about it was a theory I broached a while ago, about the fact that it's almost like negativity is the natural state, and you have to push against that in whatever way you can, especially with, I think it is part of our defence mechanism from back being in the wild and obviously protective things and things like that. So it's hardwired into us. So you do have to train yourself almost to be more positive. It's almost to be happy is not the natural state, and you've got to really work really hard at it. And we've talked about that quite a bit in previous episodes. So I think it's interesting you tie it to that, because all of those things all come together with that attempt, if that's the right word, at being being positive against the negativity. You do have to fight that, because most people will be in that natural state. They will be trying to protect themselves. So like you said, the only way to drive it is you do have to be brave to make that change, that you be what you want to see. And it is back to, it's like a hyper version of the circle to control. If you don't like where it is, you can't control anyone else in that, but you can influence, and you can positively influence, and you have to take that control and you have to take those steps. But again, it's hard work, which brings me back to that view of, being happy, being positive is almost always the hardest thing to do and not the easiest thing to do. And if everywhere we've talked about it, it comes with a challenge. It comes with consistency. It's all a version of taking that cold shower in the morning, which I still don't do, by the way. I absolutely hate that, and I'm not going to do that.
I'm still doing that. I don't do it. It's like for I do it a couple of minutes. But why? Do you know when the electric shower goes on? I've had it explained before, and it's like, well, if someone's just had a shower, when you put it goes hot and it goes really cold for a while until it warms back up again. I just stick my face in it, put my body in it, and I say to my beloved when I've had a shower, oh, go on, you try this. No, I'm not. But I love it because, again, that helps me go against the tide. It's training myself. I don't always do it. I just want to try those hard things. So I'm trying to train myself to, when life comes on, hits me, I want to be able to absorb it and try and move forward. Just move forward a little bit, a piece at a time. Not massively bits and pieces, but and I think I like a lot what you said around positivity and being happy. And I think there's a difference between positive and being happy. There's a difference between positive and positive, because people think of positive thinking, but not being fake positive.
No, 100% agree. That's not.
Like what I mean is this is like you go into your workplace, it's terrible, whatever, it's horrible, and you go, hey everyone, it's a happy place. Well, it's not. It's not great, is it? Don't do that. Just do the small things yourself. Maybe you could, if it's a really terrible place and no one's helping each other out, no one's happy, maybe you could just get a round of, some treats and just hand them round randomly without saying anything. But that would be, say, massive amounts in saying what the changes you want to see. So it's things like that. But I'm not saying, hey, everything's great. It's like Chicken Little sticking your head in the sand and not recognising.
This is you keep referencing Chicken Little. You've not done this for a while. You love that as a point of reference. You've not for ages, but you went through a spate of reference it quite a lot. But I think you're right. That disingenuous thing, because that's not necessarily the culture people want to be a part of. I can't remember what it is. It's some film. It was a few years ago, but it was kind of satire in the whole Silicon Valley type world where you're almost forced into that. It's like, we're having a picnic at the weekend, and anyone who wants to come can come, but it's not obligatory. Oh, I'm not going to come. But why are you not going to come? Are you not part of what we're doing? And it was very, very tongue in cheek, but I think it was illustrative of some of that sort of thing you're talking about with the disingenuous happy as opposed to the genuine positive, like you said. And you don't get there by doing. It's back to the hard work again. It's not one conversation and a few smiles and a superficial thing. It's deep seated, deep work every day, being consistent that drives that. But like you said, if that's who you want to be, if that's the world you want to live in, then you should be doing that every day anyway. And it's being that brave person to take those steps and be the change.
Well, do you know what you just sparked with me? Be the person you want to be. I love that. Like, see like so. When you do that thing, maybe you go into that room and it's really negative, it's horrible, and no one's been helping themselves for the past 10 years or whatever. It might be horrendous, but you're the first one that's brought in some treats for the last 6 years. No one's done it. The leaders haven't done it. CEO's not done it. But what you're doing is you're leading by the front. You're going, well, I'm going to start to do my thing, and I want to be that person that makes those changes. And that's really difficult and really hard. But that is like going back to James Clear's thing about if you want to be a person, you have to be clear about what the type of person you want to be and what the change you want to see. And when you do, like, say, you do that act of kindness, say, because you want to encourage people to sort of communicate and collaborate, and you do something what seems to be very small, but it's not. It's very brave, because when you've got environments that are very toxic, it's very hard to do those things. And I've experienced toxic cultures, and I've got to say that I wish I'd had this more thinking in those moments. I probably could have done more, but I didn't. And so this is what I'm encouraging. So I'm really making a conscious effort wherever I go, whatever I do, I'm going to stay true to me. And James Clear talks about every time you take an action, whatever action that is a vote of the person you want to become. So if you take actions against the thing you don't want to do, you will start to become that person you don't want to be, because you're doing the actions which support the thing that you don't want to become. So it's really important that we keep in our radar and our consciousness that we take actions that align with who we want to become. And however you want to record that, whether you write it down, whether you have an affirmation, because I know Lee was talking about last week, whether you have like a journal, whether you listen to a podcast, whether it could be this one, download this one, and every day you're going to like listen and you're going to take one action every day that's going to support the person. This could go for anything from being more of a positive person, maybe not always happy, because I think it's unrealistic to say we're always going to be happy, because life's not like that. But we can be positive in terms of what are the actions we're taking, and we can put a vote every day, just once or twice a day. We're voting for that person we want to become, and after time it will become your identity, and you won't even need to think about it. You'll just be like that, and you will attract people that want to be like that, because in those places there will be people that are just not brave enough. But because you lead the way, people say, well, if they've done it, I want to do a bit of that. But it's creating it, it's starting. So yeah, be the person you want to become, be the change you want to see in the world, and just start by doing the deeds, and you will see changes start to happen. I promise. It's really good. Anyway, Lee, what do you think?
No, I absolutely agree. In fact, I don't know if it is something you can talk about or not, so we can just reference it very vaguely if not. But you've done this quite recently. And I say quite recently, it's been a bit of a long burn, but you promoted something you believe in, and there was not resistance, but it was different, and you just decided, well, I'm just going to keep talking about it, and I'm just going to keep doing it anyway. And you've done that, and it's manifested itself, and it's grown, and it's bigger, and more people have got interested in it. And I think you've absolutely lived exactly what you just said, which either we can just say the proof is in the pudding, we do this, but you'll have to trust that it's there, or you can elaborate on that a little bit, but I don't know if that's appropriate right now or not.
Well, people know that I love coaching, right? If anyone's...
That's the one.
People just talk about coaching, and I'm very passionate about it, and I've got a lot of reasons. If you listen back to the episode, you know why I'm very passionate about it. I don't want to continue to say it, but I will say it, in later podcasts, because there might be new people on the podcast. But if you are new to the podcast, go back and listen. But it's helped me so much, and I truly believe in it. So now it is just thing that I talk about all the time. So if everyone talks about, like Lee says, if you talk about Jose, wherever I work, wherever I go, it's about coaching.
The person you randomly bump into at a shopping centre and never speak to again, I expect to say the same thing as well.
It's crazy. But the thing is, I really struggle with that identity. And talk about James Clear, talk about be the person you want to become, or be the change you want to see. Many years ago, I didn't believe that I could do this. Like, I thought, but one day I just sat down and decided, right, I want to be a coach. So I had to start just doing coach things. Like, what would a coach do? A coach would just try and help people ask questions. What are the powerful questions? So again, it's the practice, and anytime there's an opportunity, it's just taking the opportunity to talk about it, not in a preachy way, but in a way that helps someone, so they recognise the value, and you bring something new to someone's awareness, but not in a forceful way. Okay, if you've got, if someone's got a challenge, ask you for an opinion, you go, well, you ask questions instead of you provide advice. So practicing that in the moment. And of course, if people say, well, what would be a solution for this? Coaching is such a great solution for so many things, and it's just so powerful. And so, yeah, and I started it off with very little traction, but now it's got a ton of traction.
And I think you live your life you are surrounded by, might be too much, but for huge parts of your life now, you are in a coaching environment, and I think that's because of all these conversations in all these different places, and people have started to gravitate to it, and you've made that a reality for yourself. I think that's the exact example of what we're talking about here, in a very, very big way, that you can grow that for yourself. So I say it's a great quote and it's great advice, but actually it's something you've done and can prove it works as well.
Well, the next stage is, of course, getting the nation right out there and really getting us out there. So this is what we're doing right now. We want to be out there doing live podcasts, touring the world, and spreading this message further.
That's a beautiful transition there, Joe. I'd just like to say, if you want to help that message, just follow us on Twitter at ListenToIN, ListenToIN. Share, like, comment, all of that stuff gets it up. It's all about boosting the algorithm. So wherever you are now, if you're live on YouTube, if you're watching this back on YouTube, if you're on TikTok, if you're on one of the hundreds of podcast platforms that we're on, leave us a review, hit subscribe, hit that 5-star button. All of those things are what promotes the message. And if you like what you're hearing, tell friends, tell family. Inspiration Nation, just stick it into your Google machine and they can get on board as well. And follow us over at inspirationnation.org.uk. Sign up for Joe's newsletter, get some merch, help spread the message even more. All of that is about spreading the love.
There's so many. We've got likes going on in the chat, so thank you so much for the likes. I'm just trying to look at the messages. So if you've got any messages, please pass them now. Thank you for the likes. I really appreciate it. We've got 164 likes so far. Let's get those likes up and share the live. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Stephanie, for joining. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lucas, for joining. We've just got to get the love out there. So thank you so much for spending your time with us today. But as I say, this is what we start. You all of you on TikTok are the ones that are helping us spread the message. So keep doing it and ask questions, because you've got the opportunity now, and I can look at them and I can ask Lee. So yeah, this is what this is all about.
This is it, and we do genuinely appreciate it. 30 minutes a week, wherever you're watching or listening or consuming this, is it's a good chunk of time. It's precious, so we do genuinely thank everyone who's chosen to spend that time with us each and every week.
Yep, and please keep liking this TikTok, because we want it to keep going up. So please keep liking. Last week we had about over 1,000 likes. We're definitely over the amount of people that have liked, so it's good. I really like it. So yeah. So anyway, but that was really. I'm not sure whether we got any more.
I haven't. I really like that, Joe. It's a really good message. It's helped reinforce some of the stuff we talk about, and I think it's a great mantra to live. That's a real every single day mantra to live by. I love it.
So I'm just going to ask some questions. So if you've got any questions on YouTube, just let me know. Have you got any questions, TikTok? Let me know. Put some questions in the TikTok, and we will deal with some questions. If you've got any questions about what we talked about, please ask questions. I know there's people in there, so please ask questions. James W. Hamad. Alexander Lynn 4246. I've got to be careful with the names, actually, because last
you get caught out, don't you? You get caught out
because I keep reading it out. Yeah, so actually the names are okay. James W. I've got to just be careful. Thanks for joining. So thank you. Just keep joining, keep liking. Please ask some questions. I'll have some questions so I can put them to Lee. So don't feel free to ask questions. So just a little bit of thank you for that. Just to tell you, can I a little bit of promo from my child?
You can do this.
Has just released some live music on Spotify. Meg Noya, please go and stream it on Spotify. So 2 tracks that have gone live. They're live tracks. They're awesome. Please support Meg Noya. Go look them up on the internet and go like their music, because it's awesome. It really is. I think actually one of the tracks they've released is actually one of their best tracks I think they've done. So it's incredible. So please go and like that. Meg Noya, go stream, go share, and also don't forget about the Nation. Please share and stream the Nation too. In fact, I had the Nation on my Alexa the other day, and it says recently listened to Inspiration Nation. If you've got an Alexa device, please say play Inspiration Nation podcast, and it will come up. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Excellent stuff. No, good promos. In fact, we're hitting our time limit now, Joe, so we should probably wrap things up, and we'll be back again next week for everyone.
Don't forget, you know the thing we've got to do at the end before we go, though?
Takeaways?
Yeah.
There we go. What's your takeaway, Joe, from your quote this week?
Well, my takeaway is vote for the person you want to become by taking those actions. So the action is the vote for you to who you want to become, but be clear on who you want to become and what the impact is.
I'm going to build on that, and I'm going to say be consistent. That is my takeaway this week, Joe.
Consistency.
Good bit of advice.
Yeah.
So if you want to join us live, get involved, just look Jose Noya, Inspiration Nation, both YouTube and TikTok. Follow, subscribe. You will get notified when we're going live each and every week. And of course, we are on YouTube forever and a day and on all podcast platforms. And just stick Jose Noya, Inspiration Nation into your Google machine. Find him on all those platforms and give us a follow over on Twitter at ListenToIN, ListenToIN. Right, I'll count us down and we'll be back again next week. 3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation. Catch you guys later.
Thank you. Thank you, TikTok, so much for joining. Thank you for the